Hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm going to do a little video blog about neighbors, nosy neighbors. And as you can see, today is June 30th, 4:16 p.m. It's 2020. The year is 2020, and what a year it's been. But that involves, that kind of leads me to it, about nosy neighbors. And not just nosy either. Okay. Now, because of the pandemic, I do sometimes do my videos. I've been doing videos for 6 years on my original channel, but this one not so long. But I've been doing them, and I would usually do them while I was out and about, basically. But because of the pandemic, and I'm in Texas, and there's been this stay at home, stay safe, and social distancing, and a lot of places have that kind of thing, and I really haven't been out much. So my videos, I don't care to go just go somewhere and sit there and do it, so I do it like this. And that's part of the story. It's about the nosy neighbors. And now I mentioned in a video, or videos before, little bits, because I sit out here and I do my videos. Now I'm in a neighborhood, and it's not like we're real far from one another, but we're not really right on top of one another with all the houses and everything, but they're close enough. I've had so many stories, so many situations, and I told stories about them with neighbors who are just totally bonkers. It's more like they're control freaks, truthfully. And to me, what they think that they can do and say, and they have some kind of ownership of the neighborhood, these kinds of things, it's a no. It makes me think, you're crazy. Okay, you see what I'm saying? And I did a video like that, and I noticed from some comments that I'm definitely not alone. They didn't say what theirs did. Sometimes people do say what theirs does, and their neighbors do. But during this pandemic, it seems like the crazier ones come out. Now, I know some of it is because it depends on your neighborhood. Some people work from home, and some more people are at home, and or they have kids that school-age kids or college kids that are at home, and they need to be home with them. For whatever reason, there are a lot more people home. We all know this. Some people can't work, and people getting bored. We all know, maybe we all know, I've always been able to find something to keep myself busy, but every once in a while I feel bored. Seriously. Now, because I feel bored, that doesn't mean I'm going to go and be nosy about my neighbors. Okay, but some people, that is what they do. Really. They get nosy. And I think some of us, maybe many of us, some of you who are watching this video, remember the show Bewitched. I mean, it's still going, people can still see it, and but how many grew up with it, basically? And now I don't remember exactly 100% everybody what they did and all that, but I think many of us remember, and I'm fairly certain this is her name, the character Mrs. Kravitz, and I think it's Kravitz, I think, and her husband. And they were the neighbors. I think they were across the street from one another, from the family, the main characters. And Bewitched, and she, what was her name? Samantha? She was a witch. And her husband Darren, I'm remembering this as I'm speaking. And weird things kept happening at their house, and that Mrs. Kravitz she was basically a homemaker a homemaker who was bored, and she was looking out her window watching because strange things kept happening, and she would see them. Well, she was thought of as, I remember way back then, a lot of people thought she was just crazy, but no, she was just nosy, and Mrs. Kravitz wasn't wrong. And I recently saw, I don't know what it was, a meme or saw it on, I don't remember, it was within the past year or so, it said Mrs. Kravitz wasn't wrong. And she wasn't, but it kind of the way they did it made people I knew think that she was wrong. She, like I said, like she was crazy or something like that. And the theme of it, they were trying to make it seem like she was crazy, but she wasn't. At the same time, we all knew, well, she's right. This is happening, these crazy things. But I think it was her husband mainly was saying, no, her husband wasn't seeing the same kind of thing. By the time he went to see it, it had stopped or something like this. I think there was even an episode or so with the police involved too. But now that whole bit can lead into this. Now, like I said, I would come out here to do my videos for like the past, let's see, today's June 30th, say, since sometime maybe beginning of, in the early part of March. So yeah, somewhere around there. And I would quite often, because it's too noisy, he works from home, it's too noisy in the house and everything, and sometimes I can make it in the house, but I make videos, but usually like this. So, all the way since March. Now, since March, and I'm doing them during the day, off and on, not every day, sometimes more than one day, just depends on the weather feels and what I feel like doing. Well, there's been these neighbors, and you might even think of them as Mrs. Kravitz and Mr. Kravitz. But I think they're both kind of like Mrs. Kravitz, both the man and the woman, the husband and the wife. And since we moved in here, we bought the house. This was a brand new area. They're just building the houses. Nobody had lived in them before, and some were just built. I mean, just built. And that was about 20 years ago. And they had already moved in, and then one of our next door neighbors, they were across the street, one of the next door neighbors had, and I think that was basically it on this end, on this part. And it was pretty new, like I said, very new. And 20 years, almost 20 years ago. And one of the first things they did was one of the neighbors, that neighbor across the street, the one that's the Kravitzes, like, they called the police on us. We think, we don't know, okay, saying that something looks suspicious. It's a longer story than that, believe me. And yeah, it's a much longer story. I'm not going to go that into. But there was nothing. It was nothing. It was them. They're just being paranoid. Okay? They're just being Kravitzes. And it was very weird. It was like, well, that's how welcome to the neighborhood now, isn't it? Really. And it wasn't anything like class or race or ethnicity or anything like that. It was just, I don't know, they're Kravitzes. I'm going to call them that. But anyway, I have only seen, I would not know them if I ran across them in the store, because I haven't been that close up to them. And, well, the woman, she came to the door one time to tell us that she was getting her fence fixed. And she thought she'd let everybody in the neighborhood know. We've had other people do that. They get their fence, change their fence. And because of the noise level, they, just a courtesy to the other neighbors. And, but we've had some pretty strange neighbors, as it is. It wasn't just the Kravitzes. Oh my goodness, the storms. But, anyway. So, they're nosy. Now, we do have a neighborhood watch. I don't know who the neighborhood watch person is, and the other side of the other next door neighbor on the other side, he's very nosy. What is it about them being very nosy is beyond me. Seriously. I am not that nosy. If I come out, of course, if you come out of your house, for a safety kind of thing, you probably look to your left, look to your right, look around, depending, to make sure, everything's okay for you to go out. Especially like at night. I wouldn't even say especially. People do it. It's just habit. It's, not everybody does it, but it's something many of us have learned. You look around. You make sure everything's okay. And that's it. I don't sit there and stare at people and all that. Stare at my neighbors. If my neighbors are doing something, I might wave at them, and then that's it. If they see me, I wave. Just a common courtesy kind of thing. Okay, I understand it's a little bit long-winded, but and get to the point. Some people like those 28-second commercials, but this is not one. So, anyway, it's a blog kind of thing. And I have to tell give it a little idea about the neighborhood. So anyway, and the other side of that, like where that house is across the street, there's another one across the street next to it, and they're, what would you call it, where their garage is, where they drive up to go into their garage, those face one another, and their side of their house faces us. you got that? So anyway, so that's basically how it is. Now, like I'm sitting right here, when I look, I'm in my SUV. It's just kind of automatic for me to, check my rear view mirror, mirrors. It's just 40 years of driving. Yeah, it's common. Especially if I see a shadow or something like that, or some kind of movement, my eyes are going to go over there to see what it is. It's automatic, autopilot, and because of it, I have been able to see, like I'm sitting here doing my videos like this, I've been able to see neighbors behind me, in those houses behind me, but mainly that one, the Kravitzes, is what I see through the rearview mirrors, and I would see movement, and I would look at it. Well, the thing about it is, I would see so much movement every time I came out. I'm serious. I would say probably 90 to 99% of the time. And that is the back of their house where they park, some houses have their garage where you park in the front. Some have it where you park in the back. And there's this one that's in the back of the house. Okay, and it's near the road. And so I can see it. And there's nothing else there. A little bitty piece of land, maybe take a couple of times to go up and down, maybe 3 to mow it. It's not very big. So, in their trash cans, what's so that they have so much to do right there every time I come out, and it's almost every day. At that time, whenever I'm out, how do they know that? How do they know that I'm out? Because it would be a big coincidence since, like, the beginning of March, and here it is June 30th, that this happens so often. There's nothing for me to, no way for me to explain it, because that is too coincidental. I mean, if you average it out to once a day since March, I think it was March 9th or March 10th to June 30th, how can it be that coincidental? Really? I'm not one who believes in anything mystical, magical, whatever that is. Ooey. But yeah, I believe in coincidences. Coincidences happen, but that's too coincidental, you see. So yeah. Now, so I have mentioned in other videos about how every time I come out here, I say, my goodness, there they are again. So that kind of mentioning it and saying, what is it with these people? But anyway, so, and I put the video up, and some people would comment and say that they have the same kind of problem. Not exact problem, but a similar problem. And they've had to deal with, these neighbors that are nosy. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why. Now, and what I would say each time is, you see somebody sitting in their SUV. Yes, Mrs. Kravitz sees something weird. Somebody sitting in her SUV in front of her house. They don't know I'm making a video. That's right, they don't. They don't know I'm making a video. I figured that out on the first time. But you see somebody do it today. Then you see somebody doing it tomorrow, the next day, like that. Eventually, you should say, this is truly none of my business what she's doing in her SUV, so I need to stop staring at her. Okay, I need to stop coming outside and looking and watching to see what she's doing. It's none of my business. Wouldn't you think that way? Now, I think many of us would. If you see your neighbors do something odd, you may be looking because you're worried about them. You might look to try to figure it out, but if it's the same thing each day, day after day, eventually you're going to say, no, I don't have to worry about them. Now, if they're flat out on the ground or something each day, yeah, I would say, yeah, might be time to worry about them. But just somebody sitting in their SUV, outdoors. It's not like I'm in some kind of, in the garage with the car running. That would be a disaster called death. Yeah. Just sitting outside. Lots of fresh air. Yeah. You tell me, what do you think about that? But I have more. Okay. Now you can bet in my lifetime I've had experiences where it's a good thing neighbors were being nosy. I could tell some story about one night here. It turned out it was something very scary. I opened up the door. There was something looked suspicious going on outside, and this was years ago. I opened the door, and basically, and there was a man standing there. It was dark. It was pitch dark, and he was dressed in black, and he, I couldn't see his face. All I could see was his incredible Hulk body, and dressed in black. It was just so dark outside there, and I screamed bloody murder, ran through my house. As it turns out, it was a police officer that lives in the neighborhood across the street. I didn't know he lived there, and he had seen something suspicious. So apparently, I never did speak to him, but there was another. But I found that out. I'll just say that. Instead of going into such great lengthy detail. But yeah, so sometimes it is good when you have a neighborhood watch and people are taking, in case something happens. No neighborhood is perfect. You can live in what seems like the best neighborhood in the world, and something bad happen anywhere. And there was a time when they had what do you call them, a stream or a string of people were breaking in people's SUVs, not breaking in, they were just getting in them somehow, and going through their console for money, for change or whatever they could find. And they weren't breaking in. Who knows how they got in, but it was a whole bunch of houses from this suburb, in a straight line from this suburb to the one above it, the suburb of Dallas, by the way. So that kind of thing happens, Okay. And sure enough, I've been doing them all this long. And a couple of days ago, I was sitting out here, I think it was a couple of days ago, and I was sitting out here, Groundhog Day during this pandemic, Groundhog Day every day. This is the same, so trying to remember when exactly something happened. Yeah, right. But I was sitting out here, and, like I said, I could see, if something moves, I look up in my rearview mirrors or whatever if I see something, happening. And this is not me paying attention to the neighbors, but of course, if something moves, you're going to wonder what it is. Well, the other day that happened, and I looked up just in time for this man to be walking by next to my SUV. Seriously, I jumped. I was actually making a video. I said, what was that? But it was in between my SUV and his SUV, our home, Adam's SUV, and he was going toward the door. Well, I jumped a mile, oh my goodness, and turns out, I could figure out really quickly who he was, why he was. It was a delivery from, I think, Amazon, a delivery, and he was just leaving it on the front doorstep kind of thing. And so when he turned around, I waved so he would see me and he wouldn't get scared. But it scared me, I'm serious. And, it made me think, when I get in, I lock myself in. But just for the record, I lock myself in in case something like that happened, because twice this month of June, I think so, both times, we had those, salespeople come to your door, and really what they're doing is scoping it out. I'm serious. It happened. The first one tried to do something like this. Both of them were young, and different people from different companies. They always have a logo on their shirt, something that you've never even heard of before, like some kind of really fake company. They're just wanting you to open the door, and many of us know this. And so we don't open the door, and then they'll start talking really low, so you can't hear them, so you're still trying to get you to open the door. Well, one of them, he did that, and I made a video about it. And the next day, Adam had gone to the store or something to go pick up our groceries, I think. And as soon as Adam left, his SUV wasn't here. I was inside the house, and somebody tries to get in the front door. So, yeah. So, and the next time they just came to the door, and they heard the puppy. The puppy's getting big. I don't even know how long I can keep calling him puppy. He's getting big, and he's got a ferocious growl and bark. Now, he's very protective. Oh my goodness, that's good. That's a good thing. So, that guy backed off real far, and we didn't open the door. So, anyway. But, like I'm talking about, these kinds of things can happen. And it might be a good thing that you have those nosy neighbors in case something like that happens. Because then they know who you are, who's usually at the house, who's usually not at the house, at your house, and, can be protected. But it still kind of comes off wrong. Especially when they did it when you first bought the house and moved in. And didn't apologize. But anyway, so where do you ride the fence on this? How do you see this? Do you think it's a good thing that you have nosy neighbors or not? Or what are exceptions to these rules that you might have developed for yourself? Overall, I think, in a way, it's like I just said, it's okay, but at the same time, annoying. Anyway, it's starting to get windy out here, so I should probably wrap this up. I don't know. We're not supposed to have any storms, so I just like to sometimes just get out of the house and sit in here, and I call it my chill mobile, and make some videos and just zone. It's quiet. It's just me. Well, until somebody walks up, and some stranger. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Leave a comment below if you feel comfortable doing so. Talk to y'all in another video.